It's been 1 week since I got to see bad arguments on YouTube now. Why are people trying to shift the burden to atheists? So, here's a video. Why, the logical proof why all negations, including atheism, are positive claims. Hashtag formal logic. I probably will make an edited video about that video at some point. Maybe. But that was one of a couple of different videos I saw where theists are desperately trying to make atheists have the burden of proof. Because, it's just not fair that theists have the burden. Oh, come on, guys. Don't you have a worldview? Don't you have a burden? Why are you even arguing? I don't believe you. That's it. You made a claim. I don't believe it. I don't have any burden to prove that that is true. You have the burden to show that the thing that you claimed is true. Oh, but atheism is a statement that there's no God. Yeah, maybe it was at one point, but by and large, atheists have moved away from that definition. More atheists seem to go with the definition that they simply don't have a belief in God or lack a belief in God, which is different from saying that there's no God. But they desperately need there to be an equal footing. Cosmic Brandon says hello. Blaster says hello. Blaster, been a while. Hi. And so, no, we don't. Okay, so the word atheist means, and then they go into this, and then they try to redefine it. Negation this, and then you're making a positive claim. No, even if you don't say you are, you really are. And it's like, look, let's just say that was true. It's not, but okay. And I'm not proving my side. Cool. You're still not proving yours, so what's your point? Like, okay. You're just wasting your time. I still don't believe in God. So what are we doing here, The default state, if you will, of humans is often said to be atheism. And, you don't know what God is until you're told. Now, at some point, some human somewhere invented the concept of God. Whether it be deliberate or accidental, who knows? But that person probably wasn't a child, or if they were, one would think that they'd be ignored because, children are known to have imaginations. So, more than likely, this was somebody as an adult, and who knows how it happened at first, but I can easily imagine a scenario where, there goes one of our ancestors in the African plains, hello, Captive Desk, walking along, and suddenly a rock hits his head, and he looks around, and he thinks that someone threw it, because that's the obvious thought, is somebody threw a rock, and there's nobody around. It's like animals don't really throw rocks. Maybe a monkey, but there's none of those, no trees, no anything. And so he's got this mystery of this rock that fell on his head. And Pete himself says hi. Hi, Pete. And so he goes back home, and he tells the village, and the elder, of course, or shaman, says, okay, well, it is came from the sky, so it's there's someone up there that threw that rock to get your attention, or it's a sign, right? And then before you know it, you've got a rock throwing god. Now, of course, what they don't know, but we do, is the rock really came from a distant volcano that had erupted, got launched into the air. But they would have no way of knowing that, right? So the idea of God did get invented at some point in time, but that wasn't the default. It's not like somebody who, when they were 5, started, there's a God, And what God is and how God works has changed throughout time, from culture to culture. Look at, you look at Zeus, and it's a very human sort of god, behaves in human ways, plays with humans as puppets, goes and has sex and changes its shape and just, plays. It's just like humans are his play toy, but he acts very human. He gets angry, he has lust, he's hungry, I don't know, whatever. But they don't die, and they have extraordinary powers. Or maybe they can die. It's kind of, I don't know. But they're very human, but they represent something that the society needed, this story to help them understand the world around them. And so gods serve this meta purpose of telling humans a story that help us make sense of reality. And the atheist is simply somebody that says, yeah, that's nice, but it's just a story. I don't believe it's actually real. And back in the day, that person might have just gotten killed for saying that. So they didn't say it. They kept it to themselves. They wrote it down. They hid this statement, But as, depending on the society, maybe they were allowed to say it. So there was always atheists. And if nobody had ever invented God, there'd always be atheists. The theist likes to think that God talked to humans at some point in time, but now is utterly silent. God doesn't talk to people anymore. It used to. It used to give them signs. It used to give them prophecies, but it doesn't do that anymore because reasons. It's just like, really? Why would it stop? Like, doesn't it want us to know that it exists? Well, kind of it does, but not, well, it wants you to believe in it because well, and it's just a nothing burger. And so they have this burden of proof they cannot meet. So they say, oh, the atheist has a burden. You have to prove that there's no God. Why? Well, because, that's what you're saying. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't believe you. I don't believe your story. Sounds like a story. Sounds made up. And I know history to some extent. I know that other gods are made up. I know that you agree that other gods are made up. Well, no. Those other gods are because of demons. How do you know your god's not a demon? Oh, because of course it's not. It's just nonsense. And we say that. We say, you're just saying nonsense. We don't believe you. And they keep insisting we have the burden, even when we don't. And some people say, well, if you aren't arguing for something, why are you even arguing? Because you're wrong. And I want to point out that you're wrong. Why would I leave you alone? Just let you be wrong? Is that fair to you? So theists, listen, we don't have the burden. Never have. You've always had the burden. You have said that there's a God, and at some point somebody said that God talked to them or revealed itself. And maybe somebody was like, prove it, and that guy just got killed, or that gal just got killed. Now, let's face it, probably a guy, because women have been mistreated for a long time. So but if a woman did speak up, probably killed. And Mighty Filbert is here. Hello. So okay, if I was to say there's no God, then I would indeed have the burden of proof. If the theist says there's a God, they have the burden of proof. If the person says, I believe in God, or I don't believe in God, they do not have a burden of proof. Because belief statements have no burden whatsoever. We have to take we have to assume that the person is being honest with us when they make a statement, I believe or don't believe X. Unless you're willing to pay for whatever setup would be required to scan their brain to show that they're being honest about that statement, which would be kind of ridiculous. I'd be happy to do it. But if somebody paid, you get a team together. I don't know. But we, broadly speaking, and maybe I should do a poll and try to get atheists to answer the poll of, what do you consider atheist to be, or what label do you prefer, and some other question. I should ask a bunch of questions to all the. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Anyways, look forward to a big poll coming your way in email and ads at the thing or whatever. So when I listen, and I've listened to arguments about God and been trying to find content to do, and the biggest problem is bloody AI slop and people producing AI slop and feeling like that's fine. I just commented on a video. I just say AI slop and I move on. And the person's like, well, I admitted that it was AI. And I'm like, yeah, why are you making this crap? Like, nobody wants this. So why are you producing this? Why are you putting this up? Nobody likes it. And people are responding to this to different AI slop videos. And there's stuff about theism, and I found one about atheism. I was like, no, stop. Why? I want humans. I don't want AI. I don't want large language models. I want to interact with a human. And so that's a problem. Because what do well, if I can't find any content to cover, then what I'm make something like this and just talk about burden of proof and all that. How was the universe formed? Or people ask this as if I should know the answer. And some will demand, no, you have to answer all these questions, or God did it. It's like, no, I don't. I don't have to know anything. I don't have to know diddly squat. But I know what the answer isn't. The answer isn't the thing that you've asserted without any proof at all. There's no empirical evidence of the phenomenon itself. Well, there's no evidence, or there's no, you can't see the wind. Okay. Can you test the wind? Yes. And in fact, we know what the wind is. So can you test God? No, you can't. So how do you know what it is? You know because your holy book said what it was. But that's not epistemology. That's just believing the book. I was listening to an older episode of Atheist Experience, and the caller was saying, that the Bible is written by people that were there and saw it. No, it's not true. And it's not that long of a time period. Yes, it is, but you can have a book become instantly made up and people believe in it. So the amount of time doesn't really matter. They just kept, and then the Psalms match the New Testament, because the people that wrote the New Testament just took stuff from the Psalms, and she's like, no, those are prophecy. I was like, oh my goodness, you just, come on. How do you know it's a prophecy? Well, because it matches the thing that came later. Or the people that came later were like, hey, let's borrow from the Psalms and just make Jesus do those things. Why not? No, it was predicted. No, they made it up. It's a story. People made it up. But she was desperate that the eyewitness testimony was reliable, even though she didn't have that. And I can tell the difference when somebody is in third person and they're not. No, she can't, because the guy, the expert, he's sitting there, he's like, nope, this is why, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, it's obvious. It's written in a third person. Jesus goes out in the desert alone. gets challenged by the tempter, and then goes back. And it doesn't say that he told his disciples, so who the bleep was there watching all that? It's the all-seeing narrator that's narrating this story. Yeah, exactly. Right. They're refusing to accept it. Right. They want the burden on us. Now, how do you disprove God? Well, depends what God is. That's the thing. I'm not making the claim. You are. So it's like, well, which God are you talking about, first of all? Yahweh. Okay. Which version of Yahweh? And they'll retreat to an argument rather than empirical evidence or repeatable tests because they don't have that. And the problem is, and continues to be, that logic requires reality to function. And this is why I tell people all the time, learn informal logic. Why haven't you done this yet? Why haven't you learned informal logic yet? Have you read a book on informal logic lately? And if you haven't, maybe it's time to reread one or two or a lot. Don't just look at a page full of fallacies. That won't tell you enough. There's Harvard classes that are free you can get. There's lectures on logic. I will help you to the best I can to learn it. So, I mean, there's no excuse for not learning informal logic. How else, if you don't know the underlying system, how are you going to possibly make an argument when you don't know how arguments are made? So logic needs reality to function. Either my light is on or off. That's premise one. That's a dichotomy. It's a true dichotomy. Premise two, lobsters exist. Conclusion, my light is on. Okay, well, there's a problem with this argument. The problem isn't that my light is on. That's true, but that doesn't matter. It could be false. Doesn't matter. We can't know because the argument sucked. Well, why did the argument suck? Well, premise two didn't have anything to do with the first premise. It was a non sequitur. Does not follow. There's no connection from one to two. And so then there's no connection from two to the conclusion. There's nothing connecting these things. So reality basically said, that argument sucks, so no. But notice we didn't need the argument if we had access to see the damn light in the first place. We don't need an argument. Either the light's on or off. And if you look and you can see the light, well, then you know it's on or off. Or if you can touch the bulb, if it's hot, it's either on or it's been on lately. So there's some test to run. You can put a meter on it and test how much energy it's pulling. There's some way to know the information. So logic requires something real to function. They have something that is an object of the mind, which is what God is. And I got into that little thing with somebody. I said, God is definitely an idea. And that seems, for sure, but that's all it is. And they're like, what do you mean by idea? And I'm like, oh my goodness. It's like Jar Jar Binks, okay? Yeah, it's like, is that clear enough? And he was like, well, no, blah, 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 and Plato and whatever. I'm like, oh, Plato was wrong. Fuck Plato. Plato was just wrong. But, well, theists love Plato because he argued about the forms and this ethereal thing of, metaphysics and just there's a non-physical thing. It's like, what the hell is non-physical? Well, numbers aren't physical. Logic isn't physical. It's like, it's an idea in your brain. So it is physical to some extent. And they think that non-physical means spiritual, or that allows God to be real. But it's like it's as real as the number one. It's like, well, then God's real. No. The number one's made up. But it's real. It's real that we made it up. Yeah. It's not a thing that exists except in our head. There is no number one that you can pick from a tree and eat. You won't find the number one in the universe, as far as I know. I mean, maybe you'd find something that's in the shape of a number one, but that doesn't make it one. The ideas that we create in our head, objects of the mind, exist there. And that's definitely where God is. It's an idea. It might be a useful idea or a dangerous idea. But the theist has to prove that it's more than an idea. Explain your existence if the number one doesn't exist. If the number one doesn't exist, who's talking? What are you talking about? I'm not the number one. Cosmic Brandon. So these concepts that we have. Oh, that was sweet. Oh, you're number one in my book. Oh, that was. Oh, thank you. Oh. He was going somewhere with it. I didn't know where. These concepts we have are just that. One pre-supper, whose name shall not be mentioned, he is banned off my channel now. You know, if you know, you know. But you know, he's a real jerk. He's a bully, and I just don't want anything to do. But he was like, truth. There's no proof of truth because it's only in the mind. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what? It makes. What do you know? It's either true is a thing that we said about the state of reality. Either there is a tree at location X, or there is no tree at location X. That is, so it is either true or false. That is what that word means. And yes, it is a made up word to refer to a state of reality that we observe. So you get into these deep conversations, and a lot of theists, it's like, oh, you don't understand science, therefore God. Like, I've encountered that way too many times. I is irreducibly complex. No, it's not. Well, no. How do you explain the design of the universe? What design of the universe? Design means a designer. Grr. And it's like, look, stop. You're not proving anything other than you're moronic. So we get asked as an atheist, kind of to summarize, maybe, what would you accept as proof of God? Well, the same thing I do of everything else: empirical evidence, refutable tests, a valid and sound argument. I have that for everything. Everything has that, except for the thing that is just an idea, only has a structural argument and definitional terminology, what's called tautology or axioms. And some theists try to propose that God is an axiom, that God just is. And I'm like, great, you've absolutely rendered God into an object of the mind at that point. You have literally made it impossible for it to be real like you and I are real. And that's setting aside all the problems with non-physical and spiritual or supernatural, these terms that have no real meaning to them. You might as well say magic. We don't believe in your God. because it has not demonstrated itself to all of humans in a way that we could all be sure that it is real. And the games that various gods have played with humans seem like games, first of all, and seem like an effort to conceal that there is no proof of God. God revealed itself to a single person at a single time, gave miracles to people that you can't talk to or verify, and then stopped doing that because it was enough. It was good enough. Yeah, right. Oh, but Jesus was real, Was he though? I mean, was he? Like, you don't need, you could make him up. Joseph Smith sure did. Joseph Smith just made up stuff. People believed it. Scientology made up stuff. People believed it. And today, people just make up stuff and people can believe it. If you tell a good enough story, somebody might believe it. Somebody might buy into it. Well, but then we just die and that's it, and it's all so pointless. A book has an ending. It doesn't make it pointless. Movie has an ending. Stories end. It doesn't make them pointless. It makes them poignant. A legend's not a legend until it ends. You can't become a legend until your story's done. So it matters because we matter, because we're made of matter. But none of that proves God. The arguments don't prove God. They're all full of fallacies. I've covered many of them. Not all yet, but I'm getting on it. I don't know. One of these days I'll get them all knocked out one after the other. I don't know. But we don't have the burden of proof. God is an idea. And like I said, it's an interesting idea for sure. But if it's more than that, then it hasn't given us humans any reason to think that. It has revealed itself in a way that mimics what humans could do. And that's just not good enough. Unless, of course, your God doesn't care that we don't believe it. But the monotheistic gods do care that you believe in it. So why are they not more evident? Why can't I just talk to them and say, hey, how's it going? And they'll respond. I get more interactions with people on YouTube than I ever did with God. The feeling of God. Oh, what's that? Well, that's a feeling. You can experience it. Some people can, not everybody. But meditate. Yeah, especially in a dark room that's very quiet. In fact, the less things that there are, the better. Sensory deprivation will certainly give you hallucinations and feelings and sensations. And you will feel tingly and nice and warm and fuzzy and all sorts of feelings. And it's like, some people call that God. And it's like, well, it's just you making these feelings, your brain producing these things. Yeah, it feels great, but you can generate it. But not everybody can, because some people's brains don't do that. Which makes sense because brains are different, but doesn't make sense if there's an actual God. That means God made some people that they can't experience God. So, in my case, I'm lucky to pop up. Oh, cosmics thing. Yeah. We want to find out his channel. that what we want to do? Well, he's got to post a comment on this when it becomes a video, and then we can click on his name there, and then we can go to his channel. So, Cosmic Brandon, if you want us to go to your channel, post a comment under this when I'm done, which I'm just about done because I've run out of burden of proof talk. Although I could show that video as like a preview, a sneak preview of like how bad that argument is. Where is it? Here we go. I mean, it's bad. Yeah. I'm not gonna try to analyze it real time. Oh, by the way, just if everyone's wondering, he has been using ChatGPT, and so have I. I know he's been using ChatGPT in his comments, so I did the same back to him. So it doesn't make it right. It's just I find it funny. Anyways, his video. I wonder what if he used ChatGPT or something to make this argument because it's so broken.
Video we will explore this. Can a negation be a negative position, or is it always a positive claim? We will begin by setting up the hypothetical objection. The idea that a claim of non-existence is simply a lack of belief requiring no defense or explanation. We will then rigorously apply the established rules of logic to demonstrate that asserting a negation always commits one to a determined state of affairs.
So he's framing it that you're asserting a negation rather than you're simply, I don't believe that. You're saying that's not true. You're not saying you don't believe it. So he's already building the structure of the conclusion into the argument. This is assuming the consequence, or affirming the consequence. Yeah, circular reasoning, basically. All right. That's it. Okay. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be skeptical. And after next time, stay skeptical. And hey, if you want to listen to two nitwits talk about just nothing, check out the last video I did, the podcast. Go subscribe to the other guy's channel that does that. And you'll see gaming stuff in our podcast there. And from now on, every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing that. We'll be talking about just nonsense on his channel. It was a one-time deal to put on this channel, just to try to get it going. So give him some love from me, even if you don't plan on subbing or watching it. Like comment on this video. Make weird comments. Like make him confused. He won't know that I told you to do this. So it'd be really funny for me. All right, laters. Yeah.